You are Locked On Vikings Postcast, part of Locked On Minnesota on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Some face mask redemption. Sam Darnold leads the Vikes to their 8th win in a row in Seattle. Final score tonight, 27-24. What's going on? Back in the lab, back at it. Another Vikings Postcast episode right here on the Locked On Sports Minnesota Network. Your team every day. Remember, you can always find this show on audio if you'd like to listen under the Locked On Sports Minnesota podcast feed. And, of course, on our Locked On Sports Minnesota YouTube channel. Make sure to like and subscribe. Keep up with all the action, fellas. Lots to dive into tonight. Sam Darnold's fantastic day at the office in Seattle, plus our unsung heroes from the game. But first, quick reminder, tonight's episode brought to us by FanDuel. FanDuel, start the season with a massive return on FanDuel. New customers, you can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $250 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Go visit FanDuel.com today to get started. Ron, I always like to start with you. Vikings win their 8th in a row. This team has not lost in almost 2 months, thanks to some, I'm calling it the face mask redemption story, as Sam Darnold finally got the call we were all waiting for versus the Rams. But one play later, he hits Jefferson. That was the eventual game-winning score. Vikings moved to 13-2. They still control their own destiny in this race for the number 1 seed. So how we feeling? What are the vibes? What are your 8 topics, I guess, after this one?
Well, one, I wish they had beat the Rams. I know they've looked back on that game, too, and realized they were a better team. But in the pregame show, I talked about one number, and that was 3rd down and 4 to 8 to go. So on 3rd down and 4 to 8 to go to the Seahawks, 46.8% first down or touchdown conversions, which is 7th. 70 passes in that same thing, which is the 6th most. Geno Smith, 68.5%, 2nd. 466 yards, 3rd. But 3 interceptions, the most in the NFL. 8 sacks, the 5th most, and 78.2 passer rating, 26. And so I said Brian Flores, and if you go vice versa, the Vikings 3rd down and 4 to 8 defense, 35.2% conversion, which was 6th in the NFL, and 7 interceptions, which was 1st. That was my key point. That was my Ron's 3-minute drill this week on the pregame show. And Brian Flores stood up to the task, 2 for 10 on 3rd down. You looked at a lot of the bunch sets, and I talked about when they go bunch, when they go that 3-receiver bunch, whether they motion to it or they stay in it, they love the crossing routes, and they did get beat on the one fade route, wheel route, if you want to call it, and that was one of the plays I broke down this morning, and they beat him on it. And what you have to do is you have to stay over the top. You cannot let him know what coverage you're in. But other than that, Brian Flores eventually figured it out and said, you know what, let me just keep these guys in front of us because Geno Smith eventually is going to give us a ball. The last one at the end of the game, to me, I still think that was dirty. I had him on 1 interception, and, of course, end of the game, he throws a 2nd interception. But I said that was going to be the key, 3rd down and 4 to 8, because the Seahawks love to stay in that 3rd to 6. Whatever they got to do to get back to 3rd and 6, they're going to get there. And then Geno Smith has a ton of options. Brian Flores figured it out.
Yeah, you know, the Seahawks had no first downs on 4 of their 5 first possessions. And you go into halftime, Vikings are dominating time of possession. They had ran way more plays, everything else. It's just Seattle kind of hung around. Obviously, ebbs and flows in the second half. They kind of figured out some big play splashes. But Luke or Sam, jump in there, 8 topics, just to kind of kick things off before we get into the meat and potatoes, if you will.
You got it, Luke.
I still need a minute. I'm stressing.
It was a lot, man. Well, dude, you're a Viking fan. You've been doing this your whole life, man. For me,
I'm a little.
Dude, from Darnold's resiliency, the toughness, the way he battled through that nasty injury, that ankle injury late. The pinky was wrapped all week. It's raining out. It's wet. You're in the lion's den, the 13th man versus Seattle. He took some big hits. They stalled out a couple times in the second half. I know he missed Hawkinson twice on 2 big 3rd downs. Or I should say Hawkinson just couldn't hold on. He didn't really miss him. But when they needed him the most, right? When they needed him to step up, he cashed in on some big plays to obviously Justin Jefferson and company. But like, I think about it from the point of view, if you're still a Sam hater at this point, like that game, that performance has to move the needle a little bit here. Come on, man. Like, what more do you want from your quarterback in the NFL?
Yeah, I only ever see that from people who like cover other teams that would like in markets that would never have the Vikings on in like AFC markets.
I get it.
And then they're like, oh, but it's true. It's still Sam Darnold. It's like, no, it isn't.
You haven't
This
watched
is just a good quarterback.
13
That's it. There's no there's no more caveats to it. Even like there was a one fairly dangerous throw all day. If you do what he did over 300, right? And 3 touchdowns in the rain,
246,
which I mean,
3 touchdowns. Yep.
The rain must give him superpowers, as we learned, ever since his
back
pro
at
day.
the pro day. Yeah.
Go ahead.
But like you do that kind of game, and it did seem like both these quarterbacks were just willing their teams to success. Because Gino was going blow for blow. I mean, this was like a heavyweight fight of 2 good quarterbacks, and it's just that the names aren't who you would have expected. But if you have one dangerous throw, I am absolutely taking it in exchange for all of the other really amazingly cool stuff Darnold did. Both touchdowns to Justin Jefferson were incredible throws. The touchdown on the goal line to Addison was a good play as well. Explosives, running when it was right. I think an underrated moment, kind of a veteran savvy moment, was at the very end when it was when they were just trying to kill a little bit of clock, and they had a 3rd and 6. They do a play action pass. It's not there. Sliding down so the clock keeps moving, give you a little punting position. That was really, really smart. This is just this feels like so much Darnold's win.
Yeah, 100%. Go ahead, Sam.
There's not a more momentous play in this Viking season. And for a while, I thought it was the bomb to Jefferson against Atlanta, and this tops it. Coming off of a face mask and ankle sprain, he moves in the pocket. He climbs the pocket. He finds space to get off a bullet, back shoulder 40-yard throw in double coverage. What just happened? That was like, you think that after an injury, KOC would ease him back into the series. Okay, you got 1st and 10. Let's run it. Let's do a little boot. Like let's do something short. Let's give you a second to get your bearings. Nope. He airs it out to Jefferson for the game-winning score.
Yeah.
That's the play of the year.
And I'm not sure if that was the play. They might have called an easy one, and it might be Darnold saying, "Nope,
yeah,
nope, I'm heaving this. They busted. We're finding it."
You know what's
sandbagged them.
Yeah. You know what's going to get overlooked, at least right away. Obviously this game just ended, 15, 20 minutes ago. But I was so impressed with the opening drive, too. You're in Seattle. It's not the opening drive scripts we've seen or success rate we've seen. I'd love if somebody had actually the success rate this year on opening drives. But 2022, we all remember during 13-4 season, they were just lights out, at least the first half of the season on those opening drives. But he starts 7 of 8 for 80 yards and a touchdown on that opening drive, and it's like, okay, I know we're playing in Seattle. I know it's going to be a long game. It's probably going to be a 1-possession thing, but okay, I can take a breath here at least, and the Vikings came to play, so that was really nice as well. This defense, and I know we'll get into a little bit more specifics here, but this defense is the only defense in the NFL that has a takeaway in every single game this year. Ron, what do you attest to that outside of just, Brian Flores is just Brian Flores? Obviously, you got to have the players to back it up, but the scheme to be able to produce a turnover in every game and be the last team standing in that category and stat, that's very impressive.
Brian Flores is just Brian Flores.
Yeah,
Next question.
Yeah.
It could have easily been a 4-interception game. I mean, Shaq Griffin had it in his hands. If he is maybe an inch taller or maybe his hands are a little bit stronger, that's an interception. If Blake Cashman played anything but linebacker, I felt like it's one of those things as son, this is how I met your mother. Like, son, this is why I play linebacker. Like, he literally, like, his entire defense. That's the best thing about that miss. If you go to all the facial expressions that Fox happened to catch at every play. Yeah, Grenard, Van Ginkel, Byron Murphy, Cam, everybody's like, what? Did he just miss that? What are you doing? Like, oh my goodness, I can't believe you missed that. Like, it could have been 4 interceptions. But here's the thing, and I said this on the pregame show too. Everybody was scoffing about getting rid of Danielle Hunter at first because they didn't know what was going to happen. Danielle Hunter, yes, is a great pass rusher, but he is not an outside linebacker. That is the key to this defense. Having linebackers that can drop back in coverage. You look at Dallas Turner, you look at Van Ginkel. You have a guy in Grenard who can get after the quarterback the same way, but still has the ability to get his hands up and set the edge. You have guys like Josh Metellus now that can fill in when the outside linebackers loop. He can be the either late rusher or the looper. So there's a lot of things that Brian Flores could not do. Imagine Danielle Hunter trying to play hook, flat, curl defense. He couldn't do it. He didn't know where to go. He was literally it's like a fish out of water. And so that's the key. You have a bunch of guys that know what they're supposed to do in the 3-4 defense versus DJ Wanham and what's his name, Danielle Hunter, who basically just want to get after the quarterback.
All right, plenty more to dive into. I want to get into some of the biggest plays of the game here. That's all coming up right after this. Quick reminder, tonight's episode brought to us by Prize Picks. Prize Picks, America's #1 fantasy sports app with more than 10 million members to date now. And for me and my money, it's just by far the easiest. It's the most exciting way to get in on all the action while you watch your favorite sports and you watch your favorite players. It's so simple. All you got to do, you pick more or less on 2 or more player stats, and you watch the winnings roll in. Football season, we're in crunch time now, so things really starting to heat up, whether it's anytime touchdowns, receptions, tackles, sacks, you name it, they got it. Take your pick on more or less. Add them to your Prize Picks entry today. Tomorrow night, Monday Night Football, I'm loving Josh Jacobs. Anytime touchdown. He's been on a tear. Packers 14.5-point favorites. That means Jacobs should be in for another monster night. Go check that out. Plus, don't forget, Prize Picks now offers Apple Pay. Quick and easy deposits into your account all season long. Right now, download the Prize Picks app. Use code LOCKEDONNFL for $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's win or lose on any $5 lineup. You're getting $50 instantly with promo code LOCKEDONNFL. Prize Picks, run your game. I just like to do this after the game every week, just kind of dissect how we got here, like some of the biggest plays, the biggest turning points that stuck out to you guys. Ron called out the Cashman dropped interception. That was huge at the time. Seahawks, 4th down conversion on a fake punt. We talked about the Jefferson go-ahead touchdown. But what other plays that maybe will get glossed over throughout the week really stuck out to you guys that maybe swung this in Minnesota's favor? Anybody, go ahead, shout them out.
Yeah, how about Van Ginkel? On a day where you were not generating meaningful pass rush.
Yeah, not a lot of Grenard today. Yeah.
You don't always want to get the team after they've given up a billion sacks. Like, that's what happened on Sunday against the Packers.
Right.
Seahawks.
And then they throw every pass in 2 seconds, and you're,
Yeah, they quickened it up. They made some adjustments. The guards probably had a little bit of ego to protect, and they just protected better. But Van Ginkel splits a double team for a sack to kind of get him on the board for one. Big sack at the time. And then comes up with another one late. And I'm pretty sure if you listen closely, you heard Paul Allen screaming through the walls after that one. I go back and watch it. That's not a joke. But to come up with those plays when the Seahawks, I thought, were moving the football, they were in at least scoring range, field goal range in both instances. The sack really screwed up their rhythm. Like, anytime the Seahawks got off schedule in this game, just about every time the Vikings closed the door on that drive. So those were gigantic in the moment.
Yeah. Anybody else?
For me,
I just can't get over Sam Darnold.
Okay,
the way that he evaded pressure and got out and converted a couple of those. But I kind of want to talk more about the other side with the Dallas Turner interception. That was such a huge moment. I mean, look, this was a game the Vikings won by 3.
Before the play, drop it like as a stand-up linebacker. Did you? I know, Luke, you watched the film.
I did a whole bunch of content on Dallas Turner. I did an article on a Reef Substack and 3 different Patreon videos over the last 3 weeks on Dallas Turner. And the thing that I noticed maybe the most was that the way that he was dropping into coverage was getting more and more precise, and that he was covering a ton of space, getting himself where he was supposed to be, starting to really get that feel for where exactly he wants to relate to the routes, because it's not a landmark zone defense like some of the old school stuff. You're relating to routes, you're trying to get, width and depth, and it's like a decision you have to make. And he was getting really, really, really good at it. So seeing a good play in coverage doesn't surprise me, but that was like a cornerback kind of play to jump that route as it came out as a floater. They didn't get to Geno a lot, and I would love to talk about why in a sec, but when they did, Geno would run away and throw up a floater. And you do that enough and you're going to throw a couple picks. Like, that's just kind of an inevitability, I feel like. And that first one was so impactful. It set them up in field goal range. The Vikings, I don't even think they went forward. They went backward, but they kicked, got that 3 points, and then won by 3 points. Like, that was the difference.
Ed Donatel was drooling, saying, "That's what I was trying to do with Daniil Hunter in 2020. Don't you get it, guys?
Harrison Phillips dropped in coverage once in this game. Did anybody see that one?
Yeah, he's got his ankle
that'll happen
broken.
every couple of games.
Every once in a blue moon.
I got one play. That's going to get glossed over, but it was by a backup. By the way, a lot of new names playing on defense today with Harrison.
Yeah, Bobby
Smith
McCain
out.
in there.
Bobby McCain getting reps. Obviously, Theo Jackson, Levi Drake Rodriguez. Obviously, Grugier Hill was in there. But this defense, as you get later in the season, like a lot of teams, certainly Detroit knows this more than anybody. But yeah, you got some backups in there, and Theo Jackson with 2 minutes and change left. It was 3rd and long. Zach Charbonnet caught a dump off. Theo Jackson, it was just one-on-one in the hole. Theo Jackson versus Zach Charbonnet, who isn't a small scat running back. He's a big dude, and he made a great open field tackle to limit it to about 2 or 3 yard gain, which set up that 60-yard field goal, which came up short. Had he maybe gotten ran over or, whatever, got slipped out of, all of a sudden Charbonnet's probably at least getting another 6-7 yards, and all of a sudden that's a 53-yard field goal, and maybe we're tied instead. So Theo Jackson, that's a play that's going to get glossed over, but obviously had the game-sealing interception as well. But shout out to a lot of these new defenders that we haven't seen since preseason games when we were scouting all these preseason games in training camp. It was a fun game for some of these backups for sure.
Finally, someone tackled. Save the game.
Somebody made an open field tackle. Luke, you were going to talk about just maybe the lack of pressure getting to Geno Smith today. Anything you see or wanted to shout out there in that department?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, my live eye is only so good, and the tape will reveal all. But to me, it looked like they were doing a lot of 5-man rushes with just a stunt, right? Sometimes they would blitz from depth, and that guy would catch a running back, and a lot of the whether they get pressure or not is down to does Blake Cashman beat Kenneth Walker in the A gap, and barring that, they did a lot of stunts that took a while to develop. If you look at it, I mean, it was a lot of Van Ginkel's got to cross 4 gaps and get in, and when he would get in, he might have a blocker in front of him. He might not. Like on the whiteboard, that worked, but it took more than that 2-second window that you have. And the whole Seahawks game plan, probably because, like what Sam said, probably because of the debacle that they had last week, was, okay, let's just get the ball out of Geno's hands. He's hurt. Let's make sure he doesn't get beat up super bad today. Let's try to do some quick game. Plus, we know these guys like to blitz, and maybe we can beat that. And I thought the Seahawks did a good job of doing that without making it, 1 yard average depth of target. They still pushed the ball downfield, but everything developed fast. And when everything develops fast and your pass rush develops slow, it doesn't work. And they were not able to get home nearly enough. I think the game plan that they brought and kind of a fundamental of this defense, which is a lot of the pass rush is based off twists, just isn't fast enough. And I think at the end of the game, they finally found a way to get things going a little faster. And I think it's just a little bit of clutchness too. You just kind of finally got that pressure around the edge. Yeah, they finally beat the running back a couple times and got to him. And then Geno Smith hobbled, was just holding up, throwing up.
How fun is it to watch Metellus coming in from 15 yards off the line of scrimmage, just blazing a trail in, through those gaps with a delayed blitz and just chasing him down. That even though he doesn't get a sack, those are fun plays to watch. They stress Geno, obviously, who's not 100%. And was Metellus pressuring on one of the picks? I want to say that he was pressuring on the Turner pick. I may have to watch that.
I think he was. I think Jihad Ward was there too, and he got held really bad to no call. But I think it was Metellus chasing on that pick, which was another just total duck of a throw, and that's why it was slow enough for a defensive lineman to jump it.
I don't know the Pro Bowl voting right now where he stands, but man, he deserves so much national recognition for what a key piece, the Joker inside this Flores defense for sure. Everybody's seen the graphics week to week, all the different positions he's lined up at this year. Mr. Swiss Army Knife. I know we've combed through a lot of names. I want everybody to just rifle off one unsung hero. All-star Will Reichert bangs a 52-yarder in the rain, a 48-yarder in the rain, still coming back, right? Getting his leg underneath him from that calf injury a couple weeks ago. Vikings win by a field goal, right? Vikings win, by a field goal. So those 2 field goals, absolutely massive, 2 long field goals in the rain, no less, on the road. Dude's just been ice in his veins all season long as a rookie. Can't ask for anything better. Ron, give me an unsung hero. Maybe you've already shouted him out, but just give us a name, guy you want to give some flowers to, if you will.
Gilmore. I'd say,
Yeah.
you know what, he got away with a lot. They did call him on one that it was questionable, in my opinion. I get the 5-yard rule, but DK Metcalf created contact, and then it was about a 4-yard additional to the contact, and then he let him go, but it wasn't a hold. And in my opinion, that was dumb. But other than that, Gilmore did a good job coming back off injury. You know, they wanted to test him out early. He did get beat once. Which is just him underplaying the ball, thinking, I don't know what he thought it was. I don't know if he thought it was a back shoulder, because I do know the Seahawks throw a lot of back shoulder fades, which is one of the reasons why the other interception, or almost interception by Shaq Griffin, DK slowed down, because he was thinking, oh, back shoulder, and he took a inside release, which you never do in that coverage, but he took an inside release and then assumed maybe back shoulder, and Geno threw him deep. But I got to go with Jonathan Gilmore. Stephon Gilmore.
Yeah.
When you look at the way he played, DK Metcalf, you know, other than the touchdown, held him to 2 additional, like the other 2 catches. You know, you're going to get that with that monster of a man, but he didn't. Like, everybody's like, where's DK been? He hadn't scored a touchdown since like week 7, and they still kept him kind of fairly quiet.
Mm-hmm.
How about Witherspoon?
I have an insane post-game presser detail I have to share with you.
Oh, please.
In a little bit.
Oh, that's a good tease. Here, let me just say, I'm going to give my unsung hero to Devin Witherspoon for trash talking Justin Jefferson. What a bad idea. Who are you, man? You're a second-year player. You've never gone up against this guy. Your team just, like, you're 8-6. They're 12-2. It's Justin Jefferson. In the words of KOC, that's Justin Jefferson, right? On the sideline. But you unleashed the beast. You woke him up, making one-handed catches to move the chains, 2 tutties in the game, season high in receptions. That's just a bad idea. Just a bad idea to get in that guy's face. What is that choice? That is a questionable decision. You are not a serious person with that.
That's a fighting Illini grab for you. I mean, that's
Fighting Illini. Yeah, 100%.
But he was
That is who he
lesson.
is. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's what you buy into. I'll give my unsung hero to Ryan Wright. I think that might have been a career day.
Yeah, there you go.
Couple of boomers, a couple of really beautiful pins inside the 10 from short yard punting.
Yeah.
Beautiful day.
So, you know what? A small detail on that too. You know what Seattle didn't do that I feel like Brandon Powell is really good at is that the Seattle guy caught the ball twice at like the 6-yard line or the 3-yard line and then went nowhere. Powell is really good at recognizing, all right, this ball's going into the end zone on the bounce. I'm just going to block the gunner. And I feel like that's a
Get in
really
his
like
way. Make it
Or
hard
do the
to
fair
follow.
catch and then like roll somewhere else to make them all think it's going somewhere else.
But
small
chip him though
detail.
too, right? Is that what you're saying, Sam?
Yeah, he chips him, make sure the ball gets in the end zone. But I want to hear what's the detail from the presser.
So Kevin O'Connell said that his headset went out before Sam Darnold's big scramble in the 4th quarter. So the last thing Darnold heard was the formation. O'Connell doesn't even know what Sam Darnold called in that huddle. Just knew that he saw him have space and took off. So whatever it was, I guess it worked. But Sam Darnold calling his own plays in the huddle with the headset out in the rain on a bum ankle.
Oh, the legend grows.
Prior to the touchdown or prior to like the first down run?
Well, he scrambled.
It was on that same drive, on that big long touchdown.
And then
drive.
he was right next to KOC on the sideline, and KOC pulled him over. So I'm assuming that the headset went out before that or during that.
It was. Now I got to tell you the play right here. And also, apparently, the touchdown was total improv between Sam Darnold and Justin Jefferson. Justin just put his hand up, and Darnold found him.
Unbelievable.
But that wasn't the play.
The legend continues to grow. Couple minutes left. I want to take a quick look ahead to this Green Bay game, the border battle. That's all coming up right after this. Quick reminder, tonight's episode also brought to us by FanDuel. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, they're giving you a chance at a huge return. This is the best promo I've seen all year long. $250 in bonus bets if your first $5 wager wins. I love FanDuel because when you get the hunch in the middle of the game, you can go check out the latest stats. You can view live play-by-play and so much more, all on the same page where you place your bets. Again, $250 in bonus bets if your first $5 wager wins. If it were me, I'd be looking at a heavy favorite money line to get my bonus bets. Just for example, Packers at home tomorrow night versus the Saints. 14.5-point favorites. That's minus 950 to win that game straight up. Those are the games you want. Go check it all out over at FanDuel.com. Get in on some Monday Night Football action while you're there. Again, Packers Saints in Green Bay. Current spread, Packers by 14.5. Over-under sitting at 42.5. Go check it all out over at FanDuel.com and get $250 in bonus bets if your first $5 wager wins. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. By the way, full deep dive from this one on the Minnesota Football Party with our guy Arif Hassan. Make sure you like, make sure you subscribe. Keep up with all the action. That's every Monday, every Thursday. So I usually do a Coach's Corner, quick X's and O's, your favorite or least favorite thing from KOC or Flores today. The headset going out is a pretty cool little caveat. But how about KOC, the odds-on favorite to be Coach of the Year? Ron, I don't think anybody saw that coming at the beginning of the year, but what is that a testament to as far as just what KOC has been able to do in just 3 years as a head coach and what he's done with this team that nobody really gave him a shot this year heading into the season? 6.5 wins in Vegas was their over-under. KOC, talk to me about him.
Yeah, quarterback. I think quarterback play. I mean, honestly, if Kirk Cousins is healthy the entire year last year, Kirk Cousins was the number one quarterback when he got hurt. And so if you think about him having 16 games, he probably would have thrown for 47, maybe 5,000 yards last year if Justin Jefferson wouldn't have got hurt. So there would have been so much more to it. But Kevin O'Connell, man, his offense is pretty solid. His culture that he's built around the building, it seems to work. Like, he's a really good players coach. He's hanging out with the guys. He's joking around about, we heard the whole Blake Cashman and the basketball story that when he was on my show about, guys arguing and KOC saying guys suck and, but just having fun. And I think that's the reason why, if you love your coach, you're going to play for him. If you hate your coach, you don't want to come to work. And that's what look at the Chicago Bears. Those guys didn't even want to be in the locker room half the time with Eberflus. And so that's what I think a testament to Kevin O'Connell. And then the other side, man, honestly, Brian Flores getting Grenard and Van Ginkel. I don't know how much we can talk about that. And Blake Cashman, a younger Eric Kendricks base is what Blake Cashman is. He moves around the field better. He's younger. He moves faster. You get the pieces of your puzzle, it makes it work. And I still think they're one cornerback short of being the best defense in the NFL. They're probably one cornerback short of that. And that's nothing against the cornerbacks they have. I think Byron Murphy is great. I think Gilmore is great, but a little bit older. You have Gilmore 5 years ago, 6 years ago, maybe a totally different defense. So, yeah, that's what I think KOC is on.
KOC and the head coach is just one of the many reasons I think the Vikings are truly trying to look at this thing objectively, why they're truly legitimate threat in the playoffs. Like Sam or Luke, what makes this team so scary as an opposing team come playoff time for one game in a do-or-die situation? Because I think they've got a lot of the ingredients come playoff time that make them really scary in a do-or-die situation.
I honestly think that the one-score game experience thing, it's kind of funny. Oh, everything is one score. The regression is coming or whatever. Mm-hmm. But they're really good at this situation. Mm-hmm. They have figured out how to be good at, okay, they need a score. We know exactly where on the field they need to be. We know exactly how much time they have and what we can and can't figure out.
They got the reps under their belt now.
They've got the reps. Yeah. And even the young players have the reps. But honestly, and I can't believe, you told me 4 months ago I'd be saying this, I'd tell you you're crazy. It's Sam Darnold. Mm-hmm. That quarterback can come out and beat anybody. He's under any circumstances. If he's hurt, if the weather's bad, if the O-line is... how many times have we seen him put up a great game with bad protection? Or how many drops did we have still? He's not getting... There's this perception around the Vikings, and I think it's from people who don't watch them and just look at the roster on our lads, that's but he's got this great supporting cast, and he's got this... As if he is not driving so much of this himself, but I feel like he could walk into any stadium and beat anybody. And God help the league if the Vikings get to do this at home.
Yeah, between KOC and Darnold, and then obviously the weapons here, Sam, I feel like, again, playoff time, we've seen it so many years before. It's about which team gets hot, and the Vikings offense, and you can say this about the defense as well. When they get hot, they are one of the best 3-5 units in the NFL when they are playing at their peak. Now, obviously, okay, easier said than done. You got to get to that point, but I'm just saying that's what makes them scary in combination with their head coach and what Luke just pointed out, the fact that they are so comfortable in these close quarter situation, kind of do or die crunch time moments late in games. They just have so many reps under their belt, and they continue to prove they keep coming out on top.
Yeah, proven commodity now in these late game situations. He was nails in the fourth quarter at Chicago. He has a game-winning touchdown drive against Arizona. He's done this now on numerous occasions where in the fourth quarter you can trust Sam Darnold. And I just want to say, too, and I haven't watched every second of every Seahawks game this year, but schematically, it just looks better. It looks more diverse with the Vikings operating. And again, the Seahawks have a ton of weapons, right? They've got a ton of weapons. They've got Fant, good tight end. They've got 3 good receivers. They've got 2 good running backs. They've got a lot of weapons. And they're not like, they weren't able to scheme a lot where receivers were like coming open over the middle of the field. A lot of contested throws, a lot of routes where guys are running in straight lines, and Geno kind of threw it up to them, and they made some good plays, and they had some picked, and they had some broken up. And the way that O'Connell schemes it up, everybody's involved. Every piece of the field is not off limits. And Darnold's able to execute all those throws. Like that one throw on the opening drive from left hash near sideline to Addison. That's just a high-level throw. And a great route by Addison. Just stuff like that you see where it gives the Vikings a little advantage. And, hey, they came into a road environment. They scored 27 in the rain. If they have to be the 5 seed, still a possibility. Winning on the road in Seattle, that's kind of the proof of concept that you can do this in the postseason too.
Yeah, Ron, one more point I want to point out and ask you about as a former player. Macho Meats, check this out. According to NFL penalties, the Vikings have the best penalty plus-minus in the league, more than double the second plus best team. And you saw it again
all
today.
All you can do is grab Justin Jefferson when he beats you 65 yards down the field.
I mean, we see how many big moments in the playoffs, NFL playoffs, come down to a flag here or there. We've seen it a lot of times in Chiefs games this year as well, hence why they're 13-1. But that just goes to show what? Good coaching again there, or just the talent and players to, again, force, like Luke's pointed out, a lot of Justin Jefferson penalties and things. Like, how much more does that move the needle when we get into playoff time, too? Because that's a huge stat. That's a huge discrepancy from the Vikings being number 1, double the second-best team, the Chiefs, in the NFL.
Yeah, the one thing I'll say is, and before I get out of here, is when you think about, I said this in the pregame show, they are going to have to go short game. You go quick game, you get the ball out of your hands quick, you allow them to do, 3-step drops. It eliminates a lot of those penalties. Defensively, same thing. I think Flores is telling these guys, look, hey, just be around the ball. Don't grab. And he's teaching them the right way to play defensive back. And so that's what we're seeing. They're not penalized because you're right, Luke, because of coaching.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well said.
Thanks,
Ron Johnson, he's got a bounce. Check him out on the Ron Johnson Show every Tuesday. This NFC whole picture, I guess, is getting a little clearer. Lions beat the Bears. Eagles lost in a fantastic game versus the Commanders. Vikings still control their own destiny here. 2 to play. Vikings-Packers next week. Back at the bank. Border battle. Looking for the
We're not
sweep.
strength of victory watching anymore.
Oh, okay. Well, I was going to ask you, that was one of my first, what changed today, Luke? Because I know you've been just all over the tiebreaker scenarios and things like that. And again, we know bottom line, Vikings just win these next 2 games. Easier said than done.
They're the 1 seed.
They're the 1 seed.
Now
that
is
today, if anything,
simplified. If the Vikings lose one, but somehow the Lions also lose, and
there's only one left.
Like if
it'd be this weekend.
Right.
Yeah. So if the Vikings and Lions both lose next week and the Eagles win, we're back to strength of victory watching. But now that the Eagles have lost, it's like only that specific scenario where it matters. But now it's very clear. As long as you beat the Packers and the Lions beat the 49ers next week, like as long as it's not decided there, then it comes down to week 18. But if if the Vikings lose and the Lions win, they clinch. That's just how it is. Because the Lions will have tiebreakers. I think the only way for the Lions to have lost tiebreakers was for them to have lost against the Bears. So they will have tiebreakers, even in a series split. So you have to be tied going into that game.
Mm-hmm. Sam, Green Bay next week. This Packers team looks a lot better than they did back in week 4. Granted, that was in Lambeau, but just I don't know. Right. Biggest story. We're gonna dissect this entire game on Monday and Thursday on the football party. But just biggest storyline or maybe topic you're already starting to think about in the back of your mind for Vikes Packers.
Yeah, this has been the trip-up game for a couple really good Vikings teams in recent years, whether it's at home or on the road. So last year, you try to trot out Jaron Hall and Nick Mullins against them with your playoff hopes on life support. That went terribly. Year before that, you got the Packers in the penultimate week again. They smoked you at Lambeau. 2019, division on the line. They come in here, smoke Mike Zimmer's Vikings. So the late season Packers game has not gone well in recent years. You think about where the Packers were in week 4, way different now. A lot more mature offensively. Jordan Love had the bulky knee at that point. Doesn't have that anymore. And again, this Vikings defense, when it faces credible offenses. You walk away saying, and Braun, you were freaking out on Twitter about this. Man, the defense is kind of melting down, but then you look at the
it was a
scoreboard
horrible collapse for the defense. So many things went wrong. They couldn't tackle, they couldn't get pressure.
Giving up third and long, when they did give up a third down, it was long. I know they were good on third down today. I won't nitpick at that. But then you look at the scoreboard, it's like, the 22 against the Cardinals, 21 against the Falcons, 24 against the Seahawks. These are acceptable totals because they do enough good things along the way. They get enough takeaways to make it all right. And I guess that's all right. But there are warning signs, right? There are concerning signs with this pass defense at times that I think certainly could get exposed against Green Bay in a dome against a team that steamrolled those Seahawks just 7 days prior.
They tackle high. That's what it is. They're either going for the ball or it's just undisciplined. Mm-hmm. But when you tackle high against guys like Kenneth Walker, against big tight ends, they're going to fall forward on you for 3 extra. I mean, this is not like a tiny little detail. This is 3, 4. They had a lot of moments. I think a lot of it was Gilmore, where they would get to a tackle situation on the sideline and they try to push him out of bounds, but that push would get glanced off and the guy would keep his balance and get like get like 10 extra and a first down on that. These are good athletes. You got to just take it seriously, especially because as good as this defense is, it is small. You might argue it's good because it's small and therefore everybody's fast, but there's small players all over. You've got guys like Josh Metellus hitting, running backs in the hole. That's a size disadvantage. You have to tackle like you have a size disadvantage, not like you're a big dude, you can stop them all up and you can go for the strip. And they didn't force a single fumble today. The 2 interceptions came because I think they got Geno rattled, but they didn't force a single fumble today, and they gave up quite a bit of production trying to.
They get Pace back and probably Harry, it looks like.
Just going to ask that.
Yeah.
Just going to ask that.
Pace back huge. Next week or just eligible to be back?
They indicated this week that it's looking promising for Pace next week.
Great.
And they said post-game today that Harry is very short-term expected back.
Oh, man. You get those 2 guys back. Obviously, that's a swing in the right direction. Dallas Turner starting to heat up there as well. Obviously, some of the backups played really good as you could ask. Again, for backups, Theo Jackson, Grugier Hill's been rock solid in replacing Ivan Pace as well. Final 30 seconds. Parting thoughts by anyone? Just unload the clip. Anything maybe we didn't touch on? Anything else jump out to you guys around the league in Week 16 today? A lot of football this weekend, on Saturday as well to be watched. Lay it on us. Anything you got before we get out of here?
The flag on the gritty, and then KOC's reactions. My favorite part of the game.
That one wasn't for the kids. All right, that was a little explicit.
Oh, did it get explicit? I may have missed something there. I didn't think.
Yeah, I feel like most people overlooked that. If it was, I'll have to watch it back and see.
There was perhaps a hand motion near near an inappropriate area that was maybe not for the kids.
I'm enjoying you tap dancing around it. Well, okay. I did not intake that in the moment, but in closing, let me just punctuate this by saying what a big boy win that is. Like we haven't even.
This was your trap game, Sam. This was the game you were. I was worried about this game too coming in, but I'm just.
Don't call it a
trap
game around Braun. Braun hates the word trap game apparently, but
I can't call it a trap game when they have. That was you called it. That's got to be a much worse team. Monday night was a trap game, if anything.
Well, that makes it even better, right? A good team, sorry about the voice, still sucks. 18 years since you won in that building. You get off the schneid there. You do it in come-from-behind fashion. You win, and doesn't it sound different on TV, right? Like, they played in Jacksonville. They played in Tennessee. It just sounds like an environment, like you're in an airplane hangar when you're watching on TV. That is it was an intense game. There was trash talk. There were lead changes. What a great win. I mean, that's an unbelievable win. I don't care that you can't knock a one-possession win in that building, in that environment, this time of year. Wow, what a game.
You got the rain coming down. We're in crunch time, right? Last 3 weeks of the NFL season. This is a place we haven't won in 20 years since Chester Taylor. Went off against Seattle. So, yeah, man, got that monkey off the back. Vikes win their 8th in a row. This team has not lost since October 24th. So enjoy that.
Since last time they went to the West Coast.
Mark this Christmas Eve. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, 13-2 now on the year. Sam Darnold, just another fantastic game. Final score in Seattle, 27-24. Hey, huge shout out to all the everydayers out there that always make us your first listen. Again, check out Ron on the Ron Johnson Show. That's every Tuesday. Luke's always killing it over on Locked On Vikings. Sam Ekstrom, he's the captain on the Minnesota Football Party. That's every Monday. That's every Thursday. Make sure you like this video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. December 29th, Vikings, Packers, border battle back at the bank. Should be another good one. We'll see you next time. But until then, signing.